Welcome back, dear doctors. We are directly moving to second session. Second session is on the topic providing effective feedback. Session is also leading by Jayaprakash sir. So welcome, sir. Over to you for the classes.
Again, welcome back to this post-dinner session. I think all of you have had a quick dinner. The next session is about effective feedback. Before I move into this, I went through some of the chats. One of the participants was mentioning about the how did the performers feel about the teachers who prepared this video. What is their feeling there? Actually, that part actually I missed. That's why very good. It's a very good question. Actually, whenever you take feedback in micro teaching session, first feedback should be from the self-critiquing by the performer itself, the teacher itself. Suppose if I am doing a micro teaching session and I have to first of all say how I felt, what are the drawbacks I encountered, what challenges I faced, which of the areas I was comfortable, where I am not comfortable, all those things. First of all, why should others point out my negative things? Instead of others coming out and then telling about the thing, let me first of all tell, okay, this is what is my strength, this is what is my weakness. So first chance should be given to the performer, then to the student, then to the peers, then only the faculty will give. So in live micro teaching, this is what usually happens. Because this is a recorded thing, I did not call for the thing. I don't know whether those three people are participants or not. Are they participants, ma'am? Are they participating?
Yes, Dr. Sujana madam is not there.
Okay.
Arati madam and Vivek sir is there.
Okay, fine. So I think had I known this, we could have asked how they felt like that. So actually, it should be like that only. So that is one thing in feedback. And next thing is, don't worry about others' feedback. So whenever you get people, suppose if they get, even including myself, suppose if we get some negative feedback or some feedback which is not acceptable for us, people get out of mood. So it should not be like that. So whatever it is, please stick on. Each and every person have their own style. Just for the sake of others, please don't change your style. But you can change the contents. Isn't it? You don't have to change your talking style. You don't have to change your fluency, all those things. At the same time, but you can modify the content and present. Modify the content is in here and there. You can fine tune your thing so that you become of your sort at the same time acceptable to all. So when you say teaching, you should reach others. Only thing is here you have to see whether I'm reaching others or not. The whatever style I have doesn't matter. But ultimately, I am reaching others or not. What I want to stress again is that all of us are unique and each one of us are just like a fingerprint. And only thing is we have to see what kind of legacy I am going to create through my teaching. Suppose people should look forward for my teaching. Suppose if I teach, people should look for, okay, next time I want to listen to this particular teacher. So if that kind of thing is there in your mind, definitely you don't have to change your style. So that is one lesson you should learn from the micro teaching session. Right. So with this, we will move on to the next session, that is providing effective feedback in medical education. So whenever we say feedback, people get little upset or people take a backseat. So they don't want others' feedback. Who are you to give me feedback? Why should I listen to you? I know what I am. All those things. Because feedback is not part of our culture. And even if someone gives feedback, we don't take it in a right sense. But if you take the corporate sector, whether it is if you travel in a flight or go to a mall or go to a hotel, nowadays, it's one of the important thing. The last thing that what they give is taking your feedback. How did you enjoy? Suppose if you take an insurance thing, online thing, they get immediately send a feedback to you. So how did you enjoy about our web service? What was your experience? Please share with us. How many stars you will give? So everywhere now feedback has become part and parcel of everywhere except in education. Why? Because here in our culture, people don't easily accept others' comments, easily accept others' words or others' views. When you say views, it may be of anything. Some people give honest views, some people don't give their honest views. Some people, just for the sake of pleasing others, they give their feedback. So all those things happen. So with this short background, so I would like to say that feedback is one of the most powerful and evidence-based tool in effective learning and teaching for clinical practice. So whatever it is, day-to-day life feedback is important. And clinical practice is not an exception to this. Unless you get good feedback, you get a continuous feedback for what you are doing in your clinical environment, you cannot progress. Otherwise, you will be continuing the same mistake what you are doing, or you will be continuing to do the same very old method of practice, or you will be continuing to displease to do something that does not please others, that does not bring in satisfaction to your patients. So that is what. So that is why it is said feedback is one of the most powerful and evidence-based tools. Why? So that is what is going to be our today's lesson. So this is the lesson statement for this feedback. Now, why it is called as powerful tool and why it is called as evidence-based tool? All those things are the content for discussion for today's session. So these are the objectives of this session. At the end of this session, the participants, you should be able to define feedback in the context of learning and teaching, explain the importance of feedback for learning, apply principles of effective feedback, appreciate different feedback models, and identify potential pitfalls of feedback. They explain importance of involving the teachers and using a structured approach. See, feedback, we think it is a very simple thing, isn't it? Oh, feedback has this much of content, this much of things to be noted, and this much of things to be understood to practice to provide effective feedback. So that is feedback. Okay, so let us move on. Let us see how we are going to cover these subjectives one by one. Now, let us define feedback. How do you define feedback? Can I have some thoughts?
What people receive from our saying or teaching or doing something, what their reception towards it.
Very good. How people perceive about our performance. Very good. I may have different expectations. Can I say based on that, can I give feedback? Any other comments?
Feedback is a session to move forward.
Okay. Feedback is a session that helps you to move forward. Good. It helps you to know where you stand so that you know where to go. Unless we know where we are and we will not know how to go, isn't it? Very good. Yes. That is one thing. Good. How do you define feedback? Let us generate some thoughts. Come on. We are 19 here now. 21 are there. So let us generate some thoughts. See, this is called as collaboration, collaborative intelligence. Each one give one point, then we can derive a definition for feedback. It's not something that it is not a rocket science. It's very easy. Just imagine last time when you received feedback, how you received, how useful it was not, how it is not useful, and how the person gave the feedback, all those things. Just reflect and see. Or in general, have you ever given feedback to any concern or any institution or any person or any event or about any service? So based on that, you can define the feedback. You go to a bank and they ask for your feedback. You go to private banks nowadays, ask for feedback. And even the Zomato delivery boys, the Swiggy delivery boys, they request, sir, give feedback, sir. Good feedback, sir. Please rate our service. See, why they want all these things? Based on that, you can define feedback.
Sir, it is
yes.
Pardon me, sir. Is it okay
Yes.
if I speak?
Yeah, please,
Sir,
please.
Sir, I think especially in the routine classroom, there's inbuilt hierarchy that teacher is giving to a student. So, so, for example, if we are teaching a group of medical officers or teachers itself, so that form of a feedback categorically different from a routine teacher-student relationship. Especially, I think I've always felt that because they come for the examination, this fear, anticipation of the exam is there. So there is always a difference. So I think type of feedback, anonymous feedback or something of that sort is good, and quantitative and I tried this method one time, sir. That qualitative method of what did you learn in the class and how will you use it in your work. Before I have tried once of the qualitative part where usually you will strike the middle one, the third one, so that you are safe. So this type of thoughts were coming to me regarding feedback, sir. Thank you, sir.
Very good, ma'am. Good, very good. So Dr. Anupama has in teaching, we have an inbuilt hierarchy, so feedback is not always welcome in routine classroom. Yes, I agree that. As I think just now Dr. Anupama only shared her thoughts about. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Right.
So yes, Dr. Abdu, as you said that you cannot give the same, you cannot adopt the same method of feedback to all. As you said, for student, it should be a different approach, and for teachers, it can be a different approach, and for experts, it should be a different approach. So it all depends on whom we are catering. That's why I said, as a teacher, you should know who are our learners. Like similarly, whom are we going to give the feedback? Okay, so that is one point. Very good. You brought out that one keyword. So to define feedback is. Then any other point? So the last session, you all rated the 3 videos and then gave your feedback. So what did you do? What happened in that event? So I also said, unless you observe keenly, sincerely, you don't have the right to give a feedback, isn't it? So what happened? You observed, isn't it? Some sort of observation took place before you give feedback. So one is the observation. Observed on whom? Just now Dr. Anupama said. So observed on someone who is, whether he is a practitioner or a student or who he is. Observed on someone. What did you observe? Their performance. Here the performance is teaching. There in clinical environment, it is about the clinical practice. So it is an observation on a person. That person can be a practitioner or anyone, and about their performance. Just can we stop the definition with that? No, isn't it? So about the performance. So if I say, for example, if I ask someone to walk, say for example, now if I ask to give feedback about my teaching now. So you have been listening to me for the last 3 sessions. Now I am honestly asking you, can you please provide a feedback to me? Can someone give feedback for me? Don't worry, no, I know my own strengths and weakness. So you can honestly give a feedback to my teaching. I mean, the sessions, whatever I have handled.
Sure, sir.
Can
Sure,
someone?
it would be a pleasure.
Sorry,
Sir,
ma'am?
Sir, it would be a pleasure to give feedback of you.
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
What I come to understand with your teaching that you interact a lot with your pupils or your audience. You
Okay.
make sure that they are attentive. You are going to ask the question by taking their name. You are going
Yeah.
to provoke them with your questions and giving examples. And it's like I am quite impressed with your style of teaching and will try to incorporate these tactics in my teaching also.
Okay. This is fully positive. There are also some negative things on me also.
From my side, it could be like it's not. I can say that it's a negative thing, but it's a barrier. The
Yeah.
pronunciation has been a barrier because the accent is quite different for me, being in Mumbai, and your accent is a little bit different than what I am used to listen. So there is a barrier in the little bit of.
Good. So this is very good. This is called honest feedback. So I myself know about my own weakness, my accent, my pronunciation, my language, my communication skill. So many things are there. Sometimes I may be fast, sometimes I may be staggering. So there are a lot of other things. Sometimes I may be running fast with the content. Sometimes I don't check with the participant whether they have understood or not. So that is. So suppose now, since I asked feedback in general, you are able to give me this feedback. Suppose if I give you a standard, and based on that, if I ask you to rate me, definitely you will be able to give a structured feedback, isn't it? So that's what happened in the last session. So it is an observation about a person on the performance against a standard. So what you observed is the observed performance, and what is there in the standard is the expected performance. So that is the definition of a feedback. Suppose if I ask a person to come walk in front of you and ask a feedback about the person who is walking, he'll say he walked like this one, he was smiling, this and that and all. So at the same time, if I give you a standard tool with you, say, how did the person walk? I mean, the person walked confidently. His posture was correct. Did he smile or not? Whether he has a charismatic personality, how many he walked into all very fastly or slowly or like that. Suppose if a standard is given to you, now you will be able to tell me appropriately. Even you can even award a mark also for each and every statement. If I can give a score, you can even more objectively evaluate the observation and then say, this is what this person is. In the previous one, it was more subjective. So whenever feedback is given, it should be more objective. So that is the definition for feedback. So how can we define feedback? it is a two-way process in which specific information is exchanged about the comparison between students' observed performance and a standard given with the intention to encourage students to improve their performance. So the intention is to what? Encourage students to improve their performance. So what are the keywords here? It is a two-way process. So in education, I told you in the previous session, in my first session, one important word in education is influence. Influence and get influenced. So through your feedback, you are influencing the learner. At the same time, the learner also you get influenced by the learner's performance. So that is why it is a two-way process in which specific information, not general information, specifically, I showed you a diagram in micro teaching, value judgment and measurement. Here you are measuring so that you give specific information. So how many times, when, where, what, how many times, all this makes your feedback more specific. Is exchanged about the comparison between students' observed performance and the standard given with the intention to encourage students to improve their performance. Is the definition clear? Can I move on to the next slide?
Sir.
Okay. So why is feedback important? Can someone throw some light on this? Why is feedback important?
Sir, it is a responsibility and a privilege also.
Very good. It is a responsibility on the part of both the student to provide feedback and from the student, responsibility on the part of student to receive the feedback. Good. Very good.
It's a privilege also, sir, because you are getting an
It's a-
opportunity.
Good.
It's
If you think it's a privilege, very good. It's a privilege. Yeah.
It's an essential step to improve ourselves and also from the student side.
Beautiful. It is an opportunity to know whether we are progressing or not so that we can improve on our skill and this knowledge. Good. Then. What else is why feedback is important? There are a lot of things. So it is a situation, it is an opportunity to know about your strengths, to know about your weakness, to know about what opportunities are there, to know about how to overcome challenges, to know about what challenges are there, to know about what others think, to compare yourself with others. After all, feedback is important because we as clinicians, we need to improve our clinical skills. Unless we know where we stand, unless we know how others are performing, unless we know what is the standard, we cannot improve, isn't it? So that is the reason why feedback is important. So first thing is feedback promotes reflection about one's learning or performance. So this actually I have projected all the points. Actually, you should not do like this. You have to project one by one. So that will otherwise now the learners will learn all the points and then they will not listen. Actually, this somehow happened. I think it did not work. The point by point thing, the animation did not work. So promotes reflection about one's learning. I told you, as teachers or practitioners, we are expected to be reflective practitioners. So when you talk about reflection, it is an opportunity to look back and then see what experience we underwent. What is the experience? What we learned or what happened? So that will tell us what are we going to do with that experience. That will help us to know what next we are going to do. So that is why it is said that it promotes reflection. So feedback helps you to recall what happened, and that too about what one's learning or performance. Then it helps to identify the gaps in learning or performance. Once you get feedback, you know what is the standard and you know what is the performance, what you have performed. So this is what is expected, this is what is observed. The difference between these two is the gap. So how am I going to fill the gap between the expected one and the observed one? The gap is there. How am I going to fill the gap? How do I know that there is a gap? Unless I get a feedback, I will not know. Or unless I self-introspect myself, I cannot. Or unless I self-appraise, self-critique myself, I will not know the gap. So that is called as what? Feedback. So it will help us to identify the gap. Then it is an educational intervention. Why it is called as an intervention? Because it is this moment that helps the learner to understand where they are and what is the gap, what is expected from them, what is called as the golden standard. Am I meeting the standard or not? Unless I meet a standard, I cannot progress to the next level. So that is why it is called as an intervention. So this intervention helps me to become aware of what I am. That enhances learning and contributes for the growth of the students as well as the teachers. and helps to reinforce good performance and reduce repeated performance error. So say we may be thinking all these days what we are doing is correct. Suppose if you take a feedback, conduct a feedback session for whatever you have been doing all these days, definitely you will come to know all these days you have been repeating certain errors. And all these days you have been doing a very good job in some areas, and all these days you have been doing some errors which nobody has pointed out, which you yourself is not aware of that. So that is why feedback, that is where the feedback is important. So it helps you. Suppose if you come to know your strengths, oh, these are the areas I have been doing well where others are not doing. So that will reinforce you. Okay, I will continue to do that. So, and it will, suppose if you come to know that these are some of the errors I have been repeatedly doing, and unless I come across this feedback, I am not aware of this thing. So that will help you to what? Minimize your performance error. So that is where feedback is important. Can I expect some questions here? Is there any question? Okay. So think of a time when you received feedback. Now, this is the activity for you. You think of a time when you received feedback. Actually, if any of the participant is willing to play a role play online, I mean, two of you can come volunteer yourself so that one of you can act as a teacher, one of you can play the role of a student. So can we try this? Is anyone willing to come forward? You can do it online. You can sit in your place and then you can just talk to the other person, imagining that he or she is your teacher or the other person as a student. Come on. Or you want me to call out the names? I hope some volunteers.
So good evening, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Hello, sir. Hello. He lost his connection. A minute.
Yeah, I got disconnected for a while, for a few seconds. Yeah,
Yes.
Please. Any volunteers?
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, ma'am. May I know who is speaking?
Vandana,
Yes, sir.
Dr. Vandana.
Vandana Verma, sir.
Dr. Vandana. Yes, ma'am. You are going to play the role of?
Sir, I will basically share my own experience then when I
Okay.
get feedback from my students in the class.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Actually,
Sure.
initially when I started teaching, and I do prepare my class very well, and when I got feedback, so initially it was a little bit depressed that oh, I had prepared a lot, but after a few time I realized that when after all those adding all those feedbacks into my lectures, that how I feel that I have improved a lot because of that feedback of the students. That every time I ask whether you did my point or not, whether I like, sir, I am dealing with the Kriya Sharir, that is physiology of Ayurveda. So it is very difficult for us that the students who are from modern physiology background, make them understand about the physiology in terms of Ayurveda, Vata, Pitta, Kapha. So basically, every time I had to take initially the modern physiology background, then I fit all those concepts of Ayurveda into that, especially for the first year BMS. So after the feedback, I found a lot of improvement in myself, and it was more satisfactory for me that now I am able to make them understand all those concepts of Ayurveda.
Beautiful, ma'am. So it is exactly the affective domain that you have dealt with. So you shared your feeling when you got your feedback. First, you received your feedback, or you said that you were upset. Then slowly, when you started incorporating the feedback, you felt happy that, and you witnessed that you are improving on your skill. So very good. So this is what. So whenever you receive a feedback, you will get different sorts of feelings. So it will sometimes give you a good feeling. Sometimes it will give you a negative feeling. And definitely, if you take it in the right sense and then get the extract of the feedback session and try to incorporate it in your day-to-day life to see, I mean, with the aim to improve your performance, that will definitely help you to progress in your professional ladder. So this is with respect to all the profession, whether it is profession or student or doctor or whoever it is. So it is that. So I expect very good, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your experience. Then any other anybody else would like to share their experience?
Sir, myself Anupama. Sir, I too
Yes, ma'am.
had to thrash my ego quite a number of times because I still find it sometimes a little difficult to balance between being almost free teacher. At the same time, I expect a sense of responsibility. I like to maintain hierarchy, but at the same time, I like to have a partnership. So it is actually not very easy. I personally do not like just lecturing. I want them to interact, and sometimes you really know that your student is some feeling sleepy. I don't take it personally, but there is an element of a little bit of ego, I would say, that why the child is feeling sleepy in my class. So I had to work on myself to understand that maybe it is after the afternoon session. Now I'm much better, and I do take feedbacks, taking into that is my voice monotonous, or is it, but I feel, I always feel that there is a barrier of this routine classes where your student certainly is not going to be very honest with you. Not because there are many undue reasons. And regarding this role play, I am ready to be the student. If somebody is willing to be the teacher, I would
Very
love to
good.
be the student.
Very good, very good. So Dr. Anupama is ready to play the role of a student. Is someone ready to play the role of a teacher? Please come forward. You can take a small scenario and then just give feedback to Dr. Anupama about her performance in a clinical environment. Come on. So this is how online sessions, this is how you have to learn to interact in online session also. So everything is possible.
I am earning for a teacher.
Good ma'am. So who is going to play the role of a teacher?
Sir,
Yes, sir.
is it okay? I will be playing the role of a teacher.
Hey, who is this? I mean, can you
Gopi
please
Krishna,
identify
sir.
yourself?
Gopi Krishna, sir.
Doctor?
Gopi
Dr.
Krishna.
Gopi Krishna, yes, very good. As usual, Dr. Gopi Krishna has saved me. Very good. From the first day onwards, I'm seeing Dr. Gopi Krishna, not all of you, but sometimes Gopi Krishna comes and Dr. Gopi Krishna comes and he's like a savior and helps me in promoting interaction. Very good, sir. Yes. So, Dr. Anupama, now you are going to play the role of a student, and Dr. Gopi Krishna, please, what is the environment? I mean, about the feedback is about what?
Feedback is about
Yes, Dr. Gopi Krishna, as a teacher, you decide. You decide.
feedback is about my the teaching style.
No,
as such.
you are a teacher. Now you are going to give feedback to Dr. Anupama. How will you conduct a feedback session? Now, Dr. Anupama, as you have observed Dr. Anupama doing some performance on a patient or on a mannequin or in the laboratory or somewhere or for a written assignment or something like that. So you have observed her doing something. Maybe you take a patient, say history taking. She has taken the history of a patient. So you have observed that. Now, what kind of feedback you are going to give? How will you start that? So it is between you and Dr. Anupama now. Yes, please start.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning. How are you?
Fine, sir. Thank you.
What about the case you have presented so far? Can you tell me about the brief history, what you have taken?
Sir, I had visited the patient yesterday evening. This is a 63-year-old patient. He has a weakness of the lower left limb. He has got raised blood pressure. He has been under medication for 5 years. He was brought by his relatives. I have done the examinations. I have prepared the note and I have mailed to you, sir.
Okay. So there are basically the saying is something different and writing is something different. What you are saying is, so it should have been something else where the beginning should have been in the conversation manner, but that is not, you have said like this. For example, a male patient aged 63 years, say, named so and so, and suffering from that dismissed as such. And one more thing that you have mentioned regarding the presenting complaint, you have mentioned, but the duration was not being mentioned here. there are the certain things that you can follow
Sir,
in this particular way.
yeah, I will take into account, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, very nice. So from future, I think you are incorporating these smaller details in your presentation too.
Yes, sir. I will certainly take into account.
Thank
sir.
you. Thank you.
If,
Very
uh,
nice.
if there is anything else, sir, please let me know. I will improvise. I will once again draft it and send to you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, right. Thank you.
Very good.
Yes, sir.
Very good. It's though it is a short present. Thank you, Dr. Anupama, and thank you, Dr. Gopikrishna. Well done.
It has been ages since I have done this.
Yes, ma'am. So playing the role of a student is really interesting and exciting, and teacher role is also. So very nice. So the idea here is that to make the other participants, all of you, to understand what is the situation that demands. What is the situation? I mean, what are the situations that demands feedback? So here, Dr. Gopikrishna has observed Dr. Anupama taking history of a patient. And how he started, he welcomed Dr. Anupama. Dr. Anupama came, he welcomed. Okay, that is good. Okay, how are you? She said, fine. Okay. So here, he first seen to that the student is made comfortable, isn't it? So the ambience is comfortable. Student should feel like, okay, my teacher is okay with me and there is no problem. If it is a threatening environment, definitely students will not come out and then say. Now, first he listened to the student. Isn't it? First, he did not say anything. He did not just give his feedback. First, he listened to the student. So that is the first quality of a feedback provider. So you should be a patient listener. So Dr. Anupama shared whatever experience she had. Then based on that, Dr. Gopikrishna gave her his own feedback. Okay. Then not only that, he finally ended by saying that how in future you have to include this one. This is the way you have to. So he also gave an action plan also. He did not just like that send her with his advice. So advice is not feedback. Feedback is about the description about the performance, not about the person, about the performance, the behavior of the performance. That's all. So he even made sure that he just sent the gave a send off to the students saying that you have to see that in future you should incorporate in this way. It's an action plan. Okay, that is a simple thing. Then this as a student also, she had the confidence. So Gopikrishna has behaved in Dr. Gopikrishna has behaved in such a way that so it made the student more comfortable. So she came forward and then say, okay, is there anything else, sir? So this is called as feedback seeking behavior. How many students will ask, is there anything, sir? How many students will come and seek feedback? Feedback everyone can provide. All of us have a lot of things, isn't it? You can call someone and then make them to stand in front of you, blah, blah, blah. You can talk anything in the name of feedback. But how many have the quality to receive the feedback, attribute of receiving feedback? So that Dr. Anupama had. So this is a short within 1 minute preceptor for understanding feedback. So now here the question is, think of each one of you can think of the last time when you received feedback and you just recall how you felt and what kind of influence it had or impact it had on your learning and what influence it had and whether it improved your next performance or not. That is the exercise. Okay, now role play is over. So very good. Then the next thing is, so which are the situations that demands feedback? So this is one situation that students require feedback. We'll start from here. One is the written exams. So as teachers, we normally don't give feedback for our written exams. I think you all will agree. We conduct tests, distribute papers, that's all. If at all we give feedback, we will give a common feedback, general feedback. Say all of you have done well. This one particular question, all of you did not do well. So please next time you do well. That's all. But how to give a feedback on written exams or written assignments? When you get a written assignment or exam paper, so don't simply distribute the mark, give them a feedback in this aspect. So it can be a collective feedback. So because written exam is common for all, because question paper is common for all, most of the mistakes will be common mistakes. There are 3 categories of mistakes. One is very common mistake, which all students are likely to do, that we know. So collect that and give a common feedback. Certain things are there which is specific to only certain students that you can call personally those students and then give them individual feedback. So whichever feedback that should be given as common feedback, that can be given as common. Whichever feedback that should be given as individual, that should be given. Whichever feedback that should be given specific feedback, that is though individual, but that will benefit others, please make it a common feedback also. You say this feedback, most of you have done well, but some of you have done this one specifically. But why they have done is because of this reason they have done this mistake. But most of you may have the tendency to do that mistake, please avoid that. So like that, you can give a feedback. So it can be in the form of a written or oral or electronic. Nowadays, e-portfolios are there. You can even use electronic portfolio. So if it is a written assignment, be very specific in your statement, be very specific in your words, using the words. You have to exactly tell what is expected out of them, what they have done, and what is the gap. So that should be very clear in your written or oral feedback. Then it should be particular value to resit the students. What is the resit student? So it is not a general feedback. So it should be. That is why some students fail again and again, because they don't get a good feedback about their written assignments, written exams. So your feedback should help them to resit for their next exam comfortably. Though I have failed in this exam, the feedback I got from my teacher made me comfortable, made me to focus more on my learning content, so that this time I am going confidently to sit for the next exam, re-exam. So that is called as resit students. And provide general feedback to the students who sat the exam and serve as a revision tool for the incoming. So how can we use this one? You collect all the feedback and it becomes a document for the next students, next set of students. Once they go through, they come to know these are the frequently made mistakes. These are the frequently asked questions. These are the frequently occurring undesirable things. So they come to know, so they will not repeat that. Slowly, if you see, it becomes a culture of the institution, and that's true. Though you get a very low level of students also, in due course, that students who enter that institution will definitely shine. Because there is a part culture that you are what is it, creating a culture. You are creating a system that already some people are getting feedback, and some people have recorded the feedback. The documented feedback becomes a tool for the resource for the incoming students, and they don't require more assistance from their teacher. Just by looking at the seniors' feedback, they equip themselves. So that is how you have to give written feedback. Any comments, anything to add, or any queries? Okay. So feedback on written exams and assignments, what to include? So general
Can I have
comments.
one-
Sure, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, feedback. Sometimes I felt some of the students write exemplary. There are certain answers which should be read out. Is it okay, or should I not? Should I refrain from doing that?
No. These are called as model writing. So model should always be shown as model. So as we call role model, isn't it, ma'am? As teachers, we are role models. As performers, some become role model. Suppose if someone performs well, definitely they should be cited as a role model. So if I want to say among this group, this is can be taken as a role model. If you please follow, if you can follow this model. So definitely there is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing humiliating or nothing this thing. At the same time, but don't compare others with that model. You can only say it is a good model. But by showing this model, you should not underestimate, or you should not humiliate, or you should not intimidate other students. That's all. So it is without intimidating, without threatening, or without humiliating others, you can definitely propose that as a model. There is nothing wrong in that. Even some colleges display good test papers. Some colleges take a good performance of the students as video, and we do that. We store good clinical practice, take video, and then store it. So that becomes an asset. That becomes an asset for the next students. It is called as peer-to-peer learning. So they themselves can record, and then they can circulate it among their peers, and then they can. So some of the answer sheets of some of the students serve as a good model for the other students. Notes of one student becomes a good reading material for other students.
I think it's a very good source of motivation also, sir. Students are really,
yes,
I felt so. Yes, thank you.
Exactly. So, what to include as general comments? So how many students attempted the questions that were generally answered effectively, and questions that students struggled with? This is how you have to give feedback. Because if these points are there in your mind, you know how to give structured feedback on the written assignments or exam paper. How examiners use the marking criteria. You should also tell how examiners use the marking criteria and how many students added to it. So all those things will help the students to perform in the next exam. So there is nothing secret in this. So some teachers will maintain secrecy. So they will not give comments, they will not give, just they'll throw the mark. See, this is your mark. Know who you are, that's all. So that is not a feedback for the student. So you have to tell them why they have come out with this kind of performance, what made them, and how they can improve, how other students have written, how they can also come up to that level. So that kind of feedback should be given. So specific comments, what question was looking, what the question was looking for, how the question was answered well, and how the question was answered poorly. So if these three things are there in your mind, you can easily give written comments or feedback for the written assignments. And about their hands-on practice, that is the laboratory practice. So you can give feedback by keeping a checklist, just as we got an evaluation for the micro teaching. Always keep a ASCII checklist or checklist or a checklist in general to observe and then note down what they performed, what they did not perform. So checklist is something to check whether certain event took place or not. If certain events took place, you say you put a tick mark and say it has taken place, and how well it has taken place. If it did not take place, you say it did not take place at all. And feedback on the reliability of the work. So how reliable is their work? So to what extent? This reliability is nothing but, so under minimal supervision, how the student can be trusted. That is called the reliability. See, for example, if I am relying on if I say a student is reliable, that means I am trusting him that he don't require any supervision. Suppose if I say that a student is not reliable, that means he requires full supervision. So that is the reliability of the work. You can give feedback on that. And work habit and attitude. So you should also give feedback on their work habit. How punctual are they? How regular are they? How neatly they are maintaining the laboratory environment? What is their attitude towards equipment? What is their attitude towards the cadaver? Or what is their attitude towards the mannequin? Or what is their attitude towards the work environment? So are they following the safety rules? So if in a laboratory, they might be handling some dangerous biohazards and all. So that are they taking care of themselves? They are following universal precautions. So all these things should be a part of the feedback as far as the laboratory experience is concerned. Then coming to the next one, feedback on the presentation skill. This is feedback about the communication skill. One is about their written assignment and written exam. Second one about their practical things, that is in the laboratory. Third one is feedback on their presentation skill. What is their communication ability? So you observe, you give them, we give them seminars and ask them to present. So you have to give feedback, isn't it? It is so in journal club, you have a feedback form. So whether the article chosen is relevant. So like that. Similarly, you can also give feedback on their presentation skill. Unless you give about presentation skill, they will not know where to improve. So that is the duty of the teacher, isn't it? So I'll say, okay, your presentation is clear, concise, up to the mark, and it is clear. Your accent, your pronunciation, and the organization of the content, voice modulation, where you need to stress, you stressed, where you need to show it in a different manner, you have elaborated it in a more effective manner. So all those things should be part of feedback on their communication skill or presentation skill. So with regard to content, with regard to organization of the content, with regard to their voice, with regard to their gesture, with regard to their sequence of presentation, with regard to their post-presentation discussion, how actively they took part in the deliberation, how actively they answered the questions, how actively so all those things should be part of the feedback. So you have a format also to assess their journal club presentations. I hope your college may be having journal club presentations and other science club activities. So that is part of this presentation skill. So feedback on presentation skill. One is written, other one is laboratory, third one is communication skill on the presentation. The next one is I think before this, you can also give feedback on this thing. Your performance on the about the psychomotor skills teaching. Isn't it? Psychomotor skill stations are there. In the first class, I showed you the conceptualization, visualization, verbalization, demonstration, practice, reinforcement and correction, feedback, then mastery of this thing. So similarly, so for each and every step, you can give performance. When you take them to a skill lab, where they work on mannequins or where they work on simulated patients, you can give feedback based on this. First, assess their knowledge. If they are not up to the level, give feedback for that. And first, you assess their performance. Give feedback about their performance. Give feedback about, give reinforcement. Similarly, you can give feedback for their psychomotor skill performance also. Now, what is feedback? So, what are the qualities of a good feedback? When you say qualities are effective, the attributes of effective feedback, the first one is two-way between student and instructor. Here again, the bullet points are not working. It is showing all at once. I don't know why it is not working. Actually, as a teacher, I would suggest that please don't show all the point at one go. So your leaders will not, I mean, your learners will not follow you. But though you are all adult learners, I don't mind that. So two-way between student and instructor, and it should be given in a respectful environment. So first point is, I would like to again tell, you should influence your learner and get influenced through your feedback. It's not just one-way talk. It is not a discourse that you see in temples and churches. No, it is not that. So it is a feedback that it is a two-way interaction. First, you allow the student to speak whatever you want, give him full freedom to speak. Then you tell. So there should be what? Equal chance for both the teacher as well as the student. So given in a respectful environment, it is not just someone going in the veranda, hey, you please come. I saw you yesterday. I have forgotten to give the feedback. Now it is the right time. Come. No, you cannot keep him in the veranda and give feedback. Or as and when you like, wherever you want, you cannot. It should be in a respectful environment. So feedback should be immediate feedback, and that too at the end of any learning event, whatever learning event it is, at the end of any learning event, and it should be, he or she should be informed about the feedback. Come on, I'm going to give you feedback. Are you ready to receive? Once you get a good green signal from them, then you make them to sit comfortably, create a good ambience, then only you can give feedback. So that is called as what? Respectful environment. So you should make the learners to what? Receive. That is called as the receptive moment. You should create a receptive moment for providing the feedback. And given as soon as possible. That's what I said. It is immediate. It's not today I observe, after 1 month I give, or after 2 days. No, things will expire. Unless I record. Even if I record also, certain things that will strike, certain things may be abstract in writing. So only if I give immediate feedback, I can elaborate on that particular point. So that is why it is said given as soon as possible. And constructive. So it should be constructive. It should help the learner to what? Have a good impact, and they should feel, yeah, this is definitely, I have to follow this, and it should help. So it should be constructive. It should not be what? Depressing for the student. It should not be something what? Demotivating for them. And it should be more focused, specific, and based on direct observations. It is, unless you directly observe someone, we don't have the right to give feedback. It is not ethical also. Okay, so it should be direct, based on direct observation. It will be more specific and constructive. And use specific neutral language to focus on the performance. Say, for example, be specific. The first step you did is not correct. Instead of not correct, you say it is incorrect. Okay, there is a difference in not correct. Not correct is more, authoritative. Say incorrect. Say, though, that means it is partially correct, though the students will not get this thing. See, you were taking the history of the patient. Suppose if you could have used sir or ma'am or that kind of thing, I think that I believe the patient would have felt more comfortable and then more happy. So that kind of, you cannot say your language was very rough and tough like that. So you say that if you could have used this language, patient would have felt more happily. So that is the neutral language. So use specific neutral language to focus on performance. Then balanced. So you don't keep on telling to please the student all the positive points. You should also give some points for improvement. We don't call it as negative point. We call it as points for improvement. So it should be a balance of both positive as well as points for improvement. So that is, then only you can say that your feedback is balanced. Then confirm the learner's understanding and facilitate acceptance. So you say you have to confirm the learner whether I'm conveying the right things. Are you receiving? Are you accepting all these things? So you have to facilitate the acceptance. So sometimes they will not agree. Then you have to start from the beginning and then say, this is what has happened, why I am telling this. You should always say why this particular thing is important. Then only they will understand. They will listen. Say why this particular feedback point is important for their performance, for future enhanced performance. If they don't take it seriously, they cannot see enhanced performance in their next future opportunity. So that you have to facilitate. So you have to facilitate the acceptance from the part of the learner. Then limited. So you may have lot of things to say. All will have, say one participant, madam, one of the madam, I think Dr. Anupama or Vandana, I don't know. So they all said it should be, feedback should be different for different people. Exactly this point. So you will have points to for all. Even if you if you see an expert, you will have something to say. Even if there is something to say also, in the name of feedback, you can nitpick certain things and then say that these are some of the things for an expert. So that is, so you have to give priority for which 2-3 major point I'm going to give. So you are seeing lot of observations. say 20 observations are there. You cannot give feedback for all the 20 points. And students will not listen also, because human mind is pleasure-seeking mind, and it will not accommodate more than 2 to 3 incidents or events and 3 points. Okay, so that is why you limit. So you arrange all the feedback and see which are the major feedback, major thing that will be immediately useful for the learner. So select those major things and give only feedback for that one. So it varies from individual to individual. Okay, then aimed at a clear and agreed action plan. So as during our role play with Dr. Gopikrishna and Dr. Anupama, so what happened, Dr. Gopikrishna said, say in the future, this is how you have to do. So train yourself, practice yourself to do better. That is the action plan. He did not send the student just like that abruptly. So he asked the student, okay, how are you going to improve? Student said, this is what I am going to improve. Okay, in the future, this is what you have to train yourself and then improve and then prove yourself. So this is an agreed action plan. So then only your feedback becomes a full-fledged one, I mean a holistic one, complete feedback. So there are different models of feedback. So these models, there are n number of models and you can provide your own model, and we are going to see a generic model also here. Now let us see some of the common models and when and for whom this can be used, that also we will discuss now. So whatever feedback model it is, more the learner is actively involved, the better. So don't think feedback is your entity. It's a single entity and it is your responsibility and you are the major player. No. So both the partners are expected to play equal role, both the student and teacher. If the learner plays a major role, then there cannot be any effective feedback than that. Feedback session, then that one. But it can be a balanced one. But if you become a mature teacher, more and more your experience will help your learners to what? Give their own, share their own experience, identify their own action plan, improve on their own. So feedback sessions should slowly progress to that level. So that is what it says, that the more the learner is actively involved, the better output you will get. So now let us see one by one the different models of feedback. So the first feedback model is the sandwich model. All of you would have taken sandwich, isn't it? So what do you see in a sandwich? There will be 3 layers, one for top layer, bottom layer, which is very palatable. All of us will be happy to bite that one, isn't it? But the inner content is something rough and tough. Some may not like, some we have to pick and remove and eat, isn't it? So this is what happens in a sandwich. The same thing applies to the sandwich feedback also. First, what happens is, first you ask the students what happened, what is their experience or what went on well. So student will happily say, I started well, sir, I did this one, I did that one, this one, that one. They will only focus on the bright things, isn't it? So as a teacher, you will tell, yes, this is what you did, this is what you did, okay. Then the student again will say, you will again, you will again ask the students again what they have missed. They will again say, this is what I have missed, this is what this finished. So here, you are playing only a small passive role of what? Just to encourage the learner, you are just playing in a passive role, saying that, okay, you tell, okay, I'm listening, okay, yeah, you did. Then student itself, finally, he or she is telling, oh, this is what I missed, okay, we tell. I finished. It's a very simple model, just to make the student to recall what happened, just to promote reflection about their learning. It's a simple model. So always you don't go take a higher level of model and then bore your student. They will not be ready to listen. Start at smaller level. That is what this model shows. Then the next model is, again, it is also called as a feedback sandwich model. So it is nothing but, it says, so I told you that as teachers, we play different role, teacher role, instructor role. When you are an instructor, you are instructing your students. So students cannot say no to that. So that is what happens in this feedback also. In a skill demonstration room, say you are demonstrating something and you want your student to repeat. And if your student misses 1 or 2 steps, again you ask them to do deliberately, practice deliberately, then it is instruction. So you might have seen instructions in question paper. That means must follow statements, must follow actions. If students don't follow, they will be disqualified. Same thing happens here also. As an instructor, you are expected to provide instruction and students are expected to follow that. Suppose if they don't follow, again you have to instruct your students in the name of a feedback. So that is this sandwich. Say here, at the end of a learning event or a performance, the instructor tells positive performance. Here, instructor only tells, student only listens. Okay, so student listens. Okay, this is what you did. These are the things. Because this I am handling with a novice student. Okay, I cannot give freedom for this student to learn on his or her own thing. So primarily, I want to first involve the student in the learning process. So now I am instructing the student to do thing, and based on that, I am giving feedback. So tells positive performance, things to keep. Students did not respond. He only have to listen. Tells negative performance and things to change. Students again listen. Student listens, and tells positive aspects, again student listens. So this is again called as modified sandwich model. Okay, so here the role of the teacher is to only give student, role of the student is to give only listen. There is no role for the student other than listening. Okay, now we will know the difference. Okay, now you will better understand in the next model. So this model is called as a feedback sandwich modified model. So which says that first you are giving, so after the student has improved to some extent, from novice to some extent, the student tells what went well and what could be done better. So this is an opportunity for the student to thrash out everything, all just to wash all dirty things on her own, on his or her own. Okay, from his side. So self-introspect, what went on well, instead of other telling the wrong things or the undesirable things, whatever that went on. So the student identifies whatever that went on well, whatever that could be done better, everything the student shares. And the teacher confirms, adding his points. Yes, what you said is correct, and you have missed one point. This is what I also noticed. This is what student listens. Then the teacher, the student gives tells 2 or 3 points for improvement based on 1 and 2. Now the student himself identifies, oh, these are the areas I am lacking. So next time when I am given a next chance, this is what I am going to, I will try to show improvements in this particular area. So this is, to some extent, we are giving autonomy to the student in this feedback. Here we are only supporting their thoughts. The previous one, we only, the student only played the role of a listener, and teacher brought out all the points. Here, the student was given to what? Given the first chance of bringing out all the things. This teacher only gave certain points to support students' learning. That's all. And finally, student, conclude the session by giving an action plan or identify 2-3 areas for improvement for the next session. When the next chance is given, he or she will share how they will learn and then perform. Then the next model is Pendleton rules. It is called as Pendleton rules. Why it is called as Pendleton rules? It was framed by Pendleton, who proposed this model. Okay, so here this grid shows the aspects, the parameters on which the student is assessed, and the first column, that is the grid, shows this row grid shows the instructor and the student. So the positive, first the student talks about the positive aspects. First student tells what went on well. So after observing a student, say for example, taking history or performing a psychomotor skill station or performing a procedural skill. So you ask the student, okay, at the end you ask, okay, you tell what went on well, come on, start. So the student will say, sir, I started the session like this, I did like this, the patient cooperated like this, but the patient did not cooperate like this. So all these things, whatever went on well, you say that this is what has happened. Then you compliment. Yes, I also noticed, I also observed these things these things happened. Then you ask, okay, what are the areas for improvement? The student identifies the areas for improvement based on his reflection and then recall what happened and what went wrong and how it could be done better. Suppose if next chance is given, this is what he will do like that. So he himself identifies the areas for improvement. Again, the instructor compliments on what could be done better. Then finally, the student summarizes the key points. Starting from the end, student, this is what has happened, this is what could be done better, and like that he summarizes. Now the teacher compliments. Now what is lacking here? I told you one point in the beginning. Feedback is not complete without this particular component. What is that component that is missing?
Action plan, sir.
Very good. So here there is no action plan. Once if you add action plan, then it becomes a Pendleton plus model. So sandwich modified, Pendleton rules, and Pendleton plus. So in Pendleton plus, this is the integrated feedback model we follow in clinical environments for giving feedback about their clinical performance. This is it. So you have to actually ask for their action plan. Okay, all this has happened. Now, how are you going to improve? Please tell me how are you going. Teacher, student will say, sir, next time I'll do 2-3 observation of my senior or my faculty. Then I will do it on a simulator. Then only I will do it on patient, like that. So like that, some kind of feedback, feed forward should be there. So feedback is nothing but first you give the input, which is called as the feed. You are feeding with some information. So that is the performance. Now you are giving feedback based on the performance. That is feedback. Feed forward is what action plan or how they are going to implement or what plan they have for improvement when the next chance, if a next chance is going, will be given to them. So that is the action plan. So this is Pendleton rules. Is the grid clear for you? Is the information clear?
Sir.
So there are specific rules. Yes, ma'am.
Sir, is the only difference between feedback, the previous ones are modified, and the Pendleton rule is the action plan implementation?
Yes, action plan implementation. You see, normally we don't ask because unless you see your student progressing, you will not give them the autonomy. So action plan is what? You are just giving. So you say, okay, the student is progressing well, he takes responsibility for his learning. In that case, you can bring in action plan. Otherwise, you have to tell how he has. So you are going to play the role of a instructor, no? You have to instruct. This is what you should do, you should do. Once if they follow you, then you give little freedom. Once they start fully following you, you give full autonomy, let them decide. That is called a step-directed learning.
So it is
okay, so they
stepwise. It is a stepwise pattern actually.
Yeah, definitely it is stepwise, progressive. So first year student, second year student, third year student, fourth year students are first instance of skills exposure to a particular practical experience. Second exposure, third experience. So when you see students progressing, your feedback style should also change. Model should also change. That is what it says.
And one more thing, sir, when we give a feedback to a student, should we always give the positive one first and then the negative? Because you were telling that not more than 2-3 instances of negativity will be taken. So we should always start with positive note and then we have to honestly give the negative ones, right, sir?
Yes, exactly.
Thank you, sir.
Exactly. So always start with good things and tell them what could be done better, how it can be done better. Don't tell them it is negative. So this is what you have done, but still you can do it better. If you do it in this way, this will be more better. That's how you have to. Language should be neutral and it should be more facilitating to the student so that they will easily accept. That is the. Can I move on to the next slide?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. So now for giving us, this slide will answer Madam's question. Sir, you asked me a question. No, ma'am, Dr. Anupama. So this is how you have to look at the students' performance. See, you get different kinds of students and different sizes of people and do different opportunities to give feedback. So you will be giving feedback to a beginner, you will be giving feedback to an advanced beginner, you will be giving feedback to a competent person, like that. So always feedback starts with, as a human individual, we do certain actions unconsciously. Once you get a feedback from someone else, we become conscious of our mistake and we try to improve on that. And upon deliberate practice or after training, we become conscious about our improvement. Oh, I am improving about my competence. Then finally, we unconsciously become an expert, unconsciously become a sort of that person. Say you imagine the first time you get trained in suturing. I don't know whether you are involved in surgery or not either way. Suppose, say for example, any one procedural skill, say tying a knot or tying, a neck collar or tying putting on a splint for a fractured bone. So initially, definitely we will be doing it and our students will be doing it in a crude manner. If we don't give them feedback, till lifelong, they will be following the same crude manner. Suppose if you intervene and then give them, they will know, okay, I am unconscious about my mistake. That means I am a novice. As a novice, so they are unconscious. They will be able to do that they will be able to do that task, but they will be doing a lot of mistakes. So unless they know, they will be continuing to do that. So they are novice. That means they are unconscious about what is their mistake. Then upon giving certain level of training, they understand, okay, now I know consciously that I am incompetent in these areas. I am incompetent. I know for myself. So these are the steps involved in this particular procedure, and I'm good in these steps. I'm not good in these steps. So now I know I am incompetent. I know for my consciousness that I am incompetent. Then the next one is, again, upon continuous practice, I became an advanced learner. So I became competent. I'm able to do this task successfully as per the objectives prescribed in the standard. That means consciously I became competent. Then I repeatedly do without seeing the thing, without seeing the standard, and others say that I'm right and I get good appreciation and all my procedures are successful. Then after 2 or 3 years, 3 years or after repeated practice, I become an expert. So I don't have to refer anything without say, just by hearing the word, by hearing the name of the procedure, I just like that do, then I reach the unconscious level. That is unconsciously I become expert. That is unconsciously incompetent to unconsciously competent. So that is how the circle goes like this. So unconsciously, almost all of us are like that only. Imagine a skill that you learned recently. Say, leave your clinical skills. Imagine some life skills, cycling, swimming, or car driving. So unconsciously, we are novice. That means we are unconscious about how to drive a car, which is A, which is B, which is C, like that, which is what is that, accelerator, brake, like something like that. So when you start, you go to a driving class, driving class, you learn as a beginner, oh, these are things I don't know. But though I learned all the basics, but I don't know some of these, you become a beginner. Then you continuously drive. Then you get the license. That means you become competent. After getting license will not entail you to say that you cannot play, you can easily climb thing, you can go in traffic and all. It only provides you a license. That is why you are called competent. You are not proficient. Then after repeated driving with the help of others, you go train and on your own repeatedly taking the car in the traffic, then you become an expert. So unconsciously, without the conscious of those principles of driving, all those things, you automatically, mechanically do certain things. That means you have reached the expert level. So from unconsciously incompetent to unconsciously competent, or you start with novice, beginner, advanced, and then expert. That is unconsciously incompetent and consciously incompetent, then consciously competent and unconsciously expert. So this is called as the learning process, that learning sequence or learning stages. So you get learners, you don't think that always, though you are handling first year students, all first year students will be novice. No, there may be some beginner, there may be some advanced beginner, but there may not be expert. So you have to keep in mind this stage while giving feedback. You cannot give a feedback that you cannot give a feedback to a beginner that you will be giving to a novice, because feedback to a beginner will not fit, the novice feedback will not fit to a beginner. So you have to sort out your feedback, organize your feedback in such a way that it suits their learning stage. For a novice, there may be many things to give, but you have to focus on the immediate feedback, immediate performance, immediately what needs to be corrected. Similarly, for a beginner, he is in the advanced stage, he is progressing. So what immediate feedback, immediate performance is needed for a beginner, that you should give. For an advanced, similarly. For an expert, you may not have anything to give, but still there will be something to give that you give. So that is the purpose of understanding these stages of learning, or from novice to expert model. So from unconsciously incompetent to unconsciously competent. Any doubt?
Sir, what level can we give to an expert, sir? Because I sometimes feel some of the students are really good, better than us, for me at least.
That's all. So now you know, isn't it? For an expert, already they have to reach the competency.
Yes, sir. So we don't.
But still, always there is scope for improvement.
Yes, sir.
See, performance, there is no end. Always there is scope for improvement. You have to identify that scope and then tell, okay, you are good. You are following the golden standard. But still, you can do some wonders. You can think innovatively, think creatively. So you have to take him to the next level. Beyond that, beyond expert level, anything can happen. They become creator. They become something like that. But still, there will be some behavioral corrections. Definitely, there will be there. You cannot say a person is 100% correct, whoever it is. Yes. So that small 1%, if you can identify that, you can say. That's what we say nitpicking. So this nitpicking can definitely be applied for expert. So they will not come under any model. Only thing is you have to tell some minor things and then tell, okay, everything is okay. If we can correct this particular thing, I think it will be still more exemplary, like that.
So just one more question, sir. Is there any, for example, should we concentrate more on the novice or is there any such proportion that we, for example, in a class is usually a cluster. So some percentage of students are going to be novice always. Some would be beginner, some would be advanced. Is there any particular proportion of attention that we should shower upon them? Thank you, sir.
There is no proportion, but always you have to help the learners who are backward.
Yes, sir.
Because it is the novice who needs more attention.
Yes, sir.
So it is not mandatory. There is no hard and fast rule, but by nature you have to focus on them. See, once you reach the beginner to advanced, that is the transition stage. They realize themselves. They become self-directed learner.
Yeah.
So they don't require much advice, much support. So and novice requires more support. Beginner requires less support. Advanced learners require less supervision and less support. Expert don't require much support or much supervision. So that is it. So it's quite natural. It's obvious that novice need more support. So feedback also is definitely they need more feedback, more attention, everything.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
But provided you should be able to identify a novice candidate, beginner like that. So that there lies the challenge. So actually you are right. Actually we face this in the classroom, but the challenge lies in identifying the novice. If you ignore, they will escape escape from your lens. So you have to wear an appropriate lens and then see everyone who is a novice and for which session he is a novice. A novice in one session cannot be a novice for the other session. So it depends varies from session to session also. So that is awesome. So the lens you are going to wear for giving feedback should be very appropriate lens. For this session, I'm wearing this lens. Okay, I'm identifying the novice, beginner, advanced, expert like that.
Yes, got it, sir. Thank you, sir.
Can I move on to the next slide, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Just a
Okay.
minute, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, there are 2 points that I'd like to make. One thing,
Yeah.
so in that particular role play, I have mentioned only points to be improved. I did not mention any positive points made by Dr. Anupama. That is one
Correct.
of the drawbacks that I have seen in my role play with Dr. Anupama.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
second thing, as such to her question, I think the
Yeah.
best way of making the novice person learn, make beginner or advanced persons to have to let them teach the skills
Give
to the
feedback.
novice,
Okay.
so that the novice can be learning the things fastly.
From the
And
advanced learner. Okay.
things, so that is the group learning, let them facilitate. Probably novice
Very
can
good.
be learning the things fastly.
Very good. So that is the application of this model. Very good, Dr. Gopi. You have applied this model to your for the role play. So now you see Dr. Gopi Krishna has applied this model to the role play, and he has also identified that advanced learner can give feedback to the novice. This is called as peer feedback. That's what we did not know. Peer feedback among the peers. So the different levels. So feedback by the candidate itself, self-appraisal or self-critiquing, then feedback by the peers. That is one. So you will get to not only one feedback, one peer. So 2-3 peers will be giving according to their level of expertization. They will give feedback. So that's what Dr. Gopi does. So applying this model is now evident. So once this model is there in your mind, definitely you can apply it in your day-to-day life. Very good, Dr. Gopi Krishna. So any other comments? We are coming to
Sir,
that point again.
I think so. This is particularly good because when students come to professional college, they're usually good students, but sometimes or somehow they may not be able to exhibit all their talents. So here, this type of feedback and this type of peer feedback, I think is very valuable in our scenario, sir.
Yes, exactly. So peer feedback is very important because they are of our level, the students of their age group and their mindset, and if they say, they will agree, isn't it? So there are a lot of psychological factors in that. We are coming to the next slide. So it is there. So next type of feedback is the dialogic feedback. It is mostly for the postgraduate students or for the fellow faculty we give. Among the own peer group members, it is not more structured. Why it is called as dialogic is that it is more interactive. Here it is more democratic way of thing. There, the first model, it is more autocratic. Okay. So this is more democratic method. Why it is democratic method? As a learner, passionate learner of skill or passionate learner, day-to-day learner, some passionate learners are there. Definitely they will be learning daily new things. They will be always with some good learning partners. They will be always ready to receive feedback from others like that. So such learners usually they will not, others will not come and give feedback. They themselves will go, hey, come on, I'm going to do a small surgery today. You please watch, observe, and then give your feedback like that. So they will bring the expert to their room. They will perform, make them to watch. And then at the end of that, they themselves will take them to a separate room and they'll sit comfortably, take a coffee, tea, and then they will talk to them friendly. Say, you observed my performance. Come on, give me your feedback. So this is more friendly and then more what is a dialogue kind of thing. So it is a more interactive, elaborative approach for giving feedback in which the topic area for feedback are determined by the student. As a learner, I determine. I feel I am weak in this. I want to, or though I am strong, I wanted to improve more on that. Say, for example, I am a very good clinician. I'm a good surgeon, good. But I see one of my senior going abroad and then coming back to India with a newly learned skill set. I want to learn that skill set. So when can I learn that skill set? Unless my friend knows to what extent I am skilled, he cannot teach me the new skill, isn't it? So I take him to my operation theater. I do, and then he sees me, and then so based on this, he will now say, yeah, whatever you have done is correct. But at one point of time, you made this kind of procedure. There in abroad, they used to shorten this procedure. This is the way they do. So this is what I learned, and then I have come. Maybe next time you can try this. So this is a feedback. So that is why I purposefully call them to improve my learning, to learn new things. He observes, and based on that, he gives his feedback. So I try to imbibe that one and then use it for my next chance. So that is the role of dialogic feedback. Even otherwise also, dialogic feedback is that here the self-directed learners are the people who take responsibility for their learning, always seek dialogic feedback. Okay, I have done this, can you correct and give? Like that. So I write something and then give to others. Come on, can you write and give? Here, nobody is forcing me. There is no system of feedback. But I am passionate. I want to improve myself. So I call others. I seek others' help. And okay, sir, there are a lot of feedback models. I'm really confused. And as a beginner, I am a beginner teacher. So what model you suggest me? So any simple model is there, any generic model is there. No, not only for teaching learning purpose, not only for my teaching profession, I want to use for my children, I want to use for my for counseling sessions, or I want to use for my other purpose. Yes, you have a generic model. Usually whenever you observe any learning event or any event, these four things you can observe. One is things done well. Whatever you observe, definitely there will be good things to observe. So note down those good things. And there will be definitely things that you can, for you to say for the performer, yes, you can continue to do this one. You see the performance and you see there are certain things the person has done well. And you could identify certain things. Yeah, these things you can really, definitely you have to continue. Okay, out of the things done well, you feel personally, yeah, you must continue always this one, don't stop this one. And there are certain things which you feel, yeah, this is a blended thing, yeah, this is outdated, this is redundant, it is not at all applicable. The performer should definitely stop that you note down. So things done well, things to continue, things to be stopped, and things to be started. Now you can say, yeah, all these things are good, you stop this, and definitely next time you have to start doing this, then only you can improve. So this is called as a generic model. Done well, continue, stop, and stop. So if these four things are there in your mind, you can apply it to the Pendleton rules or Pendleton plays or this sandwich model. So because this is the main ingredient in a feedback. So things done well, things to continue, things to stop, things to be started. Then the more the learner is active. So this is where we started and we are ending here. So here again, you don't tell. So you ask the feedback, seeker, and tell, okay, you come and tell what you did well. What do you think you should continue to do? What do you think mistake you did, which you want to stop? So what do you think you have missed, which you will be starting the next time? So first let them tell. If they have missed anything, that you should be a active listener. and you should not interrupt them. Whenever someone talks to you during the feedback session, please don't interrupt. Don't interrupt their flow. Otherwise, they will not come out and then give you a honest feedback, or they will not expose themselves to fully. So this is what. So allow the learner to give talk about themselves. Then you can. Anything is missed, only you talk only the missed out things. Okay. So group feedback. How will you involve your students in the feedback process? So this is how you involve. So in the micro teaching. So just now, Madam was telling, or Dr. Gopikrishna was telling, isn't it? Self-evaluation, first learning experience. So whether it is micro teaching or a procedural skill station or written assignment or presentation skills, communication skill, whatever it is, first you give chance for the student to self-evaluate, self-critiquing, self-appraisal, self-introspection. So feedback. So the rest for two members, peers and instructor thing will be very simplified. Why should we tell everything to the learners? Let them identify. So most of the thing will be told by the student. Then you become comfortable. They also become comfortable. Because if I tell my weakness, I can frankly face others, isn't it? Honestly face others. Suppose if others start telling my mistakes, I feel little inconvenient. I mean, I feel little embarrassing, isn't it? So that is the opportunity we are giving to the learners, self-evaluation. In a group feedback, first you allow the learners to self-evaluate, then feedback by the peers. So allow their fellow members to give feedback. What do you think she's telling like that? What is your opinion? Can you give your feedback? They will approve, or they'll say, yeah, this can be improved, that one feedback. Then if anything that is left out, that is not told by the performer as well as by the peers, then you can add to them. That is the feedback by instructor. So all these things will have different values for the learner. If it comes from their own mouth, it has its own value. If it comes from their peers, it has its own value. As you said, from advanced learner giving to a beginner. Okay, expert giving to an advanced beginner, and a faculty giving to the evaluation. Because this faculty feedback will not only benefit the direct benefit, I mean the concerned performer, it will also benefit the peers also. They also learn from the faculty. So it is actually a learning environment. Actually, it is a good learning tool. So each one observes each one gives feedback, each one seeks feedback, so that it becomes a very good learning culture. So that is called as what? A group feedback. Any questions here? Okay, whatever it is, please don't give too much. Okay, limit the quantity. So I have seen people in the name of feedback, they will give lot of things. They will talk too much. You did that, you did this. So as I told you, restrict it to not more than 3 to 4 points. Because we have to see that the student should take an action on that. If we give a list of items, on what he or she will take an action, because they are not matured enough like us. So there may be many things to be told, but only at the end you say, these are the 3 things you should immediately focus, though there are a lot of things. It can be there in the written document, but action plan should have only 2 to 3 points. So because next time again you are going to observe, because it is our responsibility to check they are progressing or not through feedback sessions. So that is, so limit the quantities, don't give too much, because always too much is not good, whatever it is. And the next one is enhancing the feedback seeking behavior. Next one, see, feedback providing is something different from feedback seeking. So the way you provide feedback should encourage your learners next time to come to you. Look forward for a feedback session. Some people conduct feedback session which is more offensive, more threatening, more intimidating, more humiliating, and more discomfortable to the learners. So that should not happen. So you should create a friendly atmosphere, very good ambience, so that the next time the student should look forward for an observation by you and feedback from you. So that way you have to create a rapport so that they will seek feedback. So just now, Dr. Gopikrishna said, so I only gave the negative things, I did not tell the positive things. And so if that kind of thing, so you are not promoting what? Seeking behavior. That is called as feedback seeking behavior. Okay, feedback providing behavior and feedback seeking behavior. More important feedback. So the way you give feedback, way you conduct the feedback session should encourage learners to seek feedback next time or again and again. And the quality of feedback should be scholarly feedback. Don't give the ordinary things as feedback. That is why we always say that scholarly feedback. In the name of feedback, people will tell a lot of things. You stood like this, you stand like this. So of course they also matters, but are you going to give priority for that or not? If something if something is there above that particular thing, you give priority to that one. So the quality of feedback should directly have an impact on the learning. That is called as what? Scholarly feedback. Then take care of the emotions of your learners. Emotions here is the affective part. When you give feedback, you think, you put yourself in the shoes of the learner. Take your thing to your college days and think how you got feedback and how you improved, and if you were a student, what kind of feelings you have. So that kind of emotion should be there. Then definitely the learners will feel that you are with them. So that connectivity will be there. That connection will be there. So establishing connection, that rapport is very important here with emotional rapport. That organizational climate, that is, create an organizational climate that is more supportive for promoting feedback, or create a work culture that supports feedback. Definitely all of us can improve together. Okay, that is this enhancing the feedback seeking behavior among the colleagues, among students, among administrators. This is important. So feedback is a reflective activity. Think of your current teaching. This is an exercise for you. You have come to the end of this session. So I would like to, I want all the participants to take a snapshot of this and then do it as a homework. And if you want, you can submit to, you can share your thing with other learners, because this exercise will be an eye-opener exercise for you. First of all, imagine a session. Who are your learners? Whether postgraduate student or fourth-year student or third-year student or final-year student or whatever it is. Who are your learners? When and how will you introduce the culture of feedback in your discipline? Whether for lecture session, whether for practical session, whether for community session, community field work, or whether for a laboratory session, whether for simulation session, or for communication skills presentation. When will you, how are you going to introduce the culture of feedback? Where will you give feedback? When and where you will give feedback? And how often you will give the feedback? So how will you create a safe and supportive feedback environment? And what steps could you implement now to plan more effectively for giving feedback? So if you could do this exercise, you are ready to give feedback. So you have prepared yourselves to give feedback. So that is this reflective activity. So actually, I planned this session in different way. If it is a direct session, this session would have been a different thing. But now I really feel happy that there was interaction, there was role play, there was participation, and you also shared your moments. And finally, I'm ending it with a reflective activity. So please do this reflective activity at home, and if possible, you share with others so that you can also learn from others. And if you do this thing and you know how ready you are to conduct a feedback session. If there are any questions, I'll really be happy to take some questions. Otherwise, we can wind up the session with somebody. It's a long day, I think, for me also, because this being a working day, it's a long day. Last session was a Sunday. I didn't feel that long day thing. But anyway.
May I ask you a question?
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, Dr. Mukesh.
In theory session, as you told, we can go for giving a group feedback, so that to the whole class after a test or something like that. But whenever the number of students are very high, I just am curious about what happens in your institutions, because you might be having 100 or 200 students in a classroom. So
165.
Yeah, 165. So how is it possible to provide individualized feedback to each of these students at least once in a curriculum year? So
we have 2-3 types of feedback mechanism, but I will not say they are all very, effective, or we are sincerely doing it. But there are some teachers who are sincerely doing, because it is part of their timetable. One method is classroom group feedback, especially for written assignment, they give group feedback. So it is not possible. Only rarely for some certain backward students, there is a formative assessment session weekend. Every Saturday morning is a formative assessment, wherein students are divided into 3 groups. One group will say, for example, one group will go to anatomy, one group will go to physiology, one group will go to biochemistry. So that students, whatever performance the teachers observe during that whole week for those 6 days and 5 days will be given in the form of feedback. Either it will be for some, group feedback or individual feedback. So it can be for a practical session or for written assignment or for anything. For any early clinical, there is a early clinical exposure session is also there. For that also, we give consolidated feedback. So we have a structured weekly, every Saturday, half a day is allotted for formative assessment, and feedback is part of this formative assessment. but it is very difficult to give daily feedback in the lecture session. But some teachers do that in the form of keeping a box in the inside, I mean, just outside the classroom, by distributing the what I learned, what I shared in the last class, that think, pair, share, and what I learned form, no, that 1 minute precept or for 1 minute thing. So that they keep, and randomly they pick up, and they sometimes they engage, do it in the classroom itself, or next day they will come with a feedback. So that also happens. And some teachers, even if you ask Bobby, he will tell, he uses this green card. Green card thing is that I shared with our participants that students giving feedback to the teachers. So they'll have yellow, red, green card traffic signals. During every 10 minutes, the PowerPoint will flash. And then in the PowerPoint, it will say it is time for feedback. Students will raise their hands with one color card. So if the teacher sees more red card, then he will stop and then go back, continue. Yellow card, okay, he will continue with a little hesitance. If it is green card, he will continue to take the session. It's a kind of feedback mechanism. So like that, there are different ways. As teacher, we can improvise. But only thing is, we have to see how we are giving and identify. Suppose if it is not possible to entertain, to give feedback for all students, it's good to identify, as Dr. Vandana Madam said, it's good to identify the novice and the beginner and then give. So that they are the needy students, isn't it? So first of all, we have to address the needy, then we can move on to the next students. So that is, so there are different ways of doing this thing, but we have to make a more method that is more structured.
Yes, as you rightly told, we have to develop a culture of giving feedback. So that's the first thing.
First, that culture should be developed. Yes, it should become a moment. For that, we need the support of seniors, administrators. Then it should be part of the curriculum, and it should be part of the student handbook. Students should know that they are expected to give feedback to teachers, and students should know that they have to give feedback to their thing. It should be part and parcel of their duties and responsibilities. So it should start from there. Then slowly we can start, and then definitely after a few years, definitely it will become part of your institutional culture.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So if there are no further questions,
Sir, I have small.
Yes, ma'am. Please.
We have this PG seminar, common seminar presentations, whereby we have to actually literally force our scholars to ask questions. I think probably if we say feedback, it would be better. Because we ask them, actually, we are asking them, the session is open for discussion. The scholars may ask questions. Now, I think probably we should use the word feedback. So
no, ma'am, there is a difference. I'll tell you. You are correct. To some extent, you are correct. But if you tell feedback, they will only give you certain things about the performance only. I mean, performance, they'll talk about some other thing. But why? Because some institution, actually, it is a good educational strategy. So at the end of this journal article presentation, all of you must ask 2 questions. So first round, second round. So why means you are forcing your learners to think, otherwise they will not at all think. It is creating an environment to think.
Yeah.
Actually, it is a good thing. It is not a negative thing. It's a good thing. So that's what that exercise, circular questioning is there. Why the circular questioning? Each one gets a content to question. So each one gets an opportunity to question, and the other person gets an opportunity to answer. Similarly, here in Journal Article Club, they have already listened to a particular contents of an article, and now they have to think, what question I have? He has already asked that question. Most of the questions have now, they will start thinking deeply and critically. This is called as fostering critical thinking. Okay. This is how you have to foster critical. Otherwise, if you leave like that, they will simply sit and then go finish. That is why nowadays we are having an evaluation from journal article presentation. How was the presentation? What was the content, the level, the objectives are achieved or not? So what critical things they are learned? What is the methodology? Is the methodology relevant to the current scenario? Is there any other methodology you advise? All these things will be there. If you ask, is there any other methodology? You say, yeah, for protein estimation, they have done this methodology. For protein, there is a latest method. This methodology can also be employed. So it helps them to recall. So this forcible questioning is really a good thing. Yes, so without threatening, it should not be in a threatening environment. That's what. Always keep in mind, it should not be in a more threatening manner.
Yeah, but sir, I think at the end of the day, for academy, critical thinking is very important, and questioning even
very important.
So I think, yeah, now I got the examples of where feedback and where.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes, so as you said, now thinking, without thinking, critical thinking cannot happen. First, learners should think, imagine, reason, judge, evaluate, then think critically, then creativity. Then only you can get innovation. Otherwise, no, they will be passive listeners only. They will not think at all. So at least this question, you think, will make them to think something. At least, oh, the next person is talking. Now I have to prepare one question. So they will prepare some question. Definitely, we'll see they will prepare. So you see, you force them, they will feel the functioning of their brains. So that is, this kind of exercises will help them to understand how their brain functions.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. So, if you all permit me, I will summarize this session. Can I? Dr. Mukesh, yes, sir, please, you want to ask something?
Yes, sir. Please carry on. I guess.
No, please. You want to ask?
No, nothing is there.
Oh,
Please carry on.
okay. Okay. So, if there are no questions, this is summary of today's session. Feedback is a cornerstone in learning and teaching. Please underline the word cornerstone. Why it is the cornerstone? It is the feedback that helps your learner to what? Take a diversion. So the cornerstone of a wall. You see, if the mason does not determine the cornerstone, you won't get a perfect room, isn't it? So the room will not be in a perfect size. So it is the cornerstone feedback. So whenever you give feedback, see that it serves as a cornerstone. You should not disrupt their learning. You should not disturb their psycho. So all these things should be taken care. Feedback is a cornerstone, and feedback should be specific, timely, and aimed at next step to improve further learning and performance. And it should involve the learners, and using a structured approach to giving feedback will enhance the quality of learning. So now you know that there is a structured approach for giving feedback and keeping the definition in mind. So definitely now you can serve as a better teacher and you can give better feedback to your learner. So I thank you all for your patient listening and being with me for these days. Thank you all, and wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I thank the organizers, Dr. Mukesh and Dr. Anila and other organizers and all the participants for actively taking part in this presentation. In this session. Please don't stop with this. This is only a beginning. So though there may be a lot of jargons and other things, this may be the first time you are hearing, but don't stop with this. There are a lot of, please look for further opportunities for such sessions, and then please enhance your teaching skill. Because nowadays a teacher is expected to be more interactive, more interesting, more narrative, more
Hello?
Sir, you got muted.
Yeah. So please enhance your teaching.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Sir, are you there?
Hello, sir. I think he had some connectivity issue. Initially, he had some issue.
I think he'll come back.
Okay, we can wait.
And today's sir's last session, right?
Yes, yes. That complete 4 sessions.
Sir, are you there?
Oh, yes, sorry, I got disconnected. There is a connectivity problem here. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Sir, we thank you very much from our heart, our institute and case. You have spent this much time and effort to educate us on the basic principles of medical education. And it was wonderful having you. Actually, we just don't feel enough of hearing you. A lot of the participants, they are asking your videos, if at all there are other sessions of yours. And even some of our teachers in our college, they asked us whether we can bring you in person here so that we can conduct a particular offline session here. So we invite you to Kottakkal. And I also,
sure, in future.
I also request you, if time permits, you please be there for our valedictory session on 4th, so that we can get the feedback from the participants as well. So a wholehearted
Definitely, sir.
thanks, sir. We cannot appreciate enough of the effort that you have taken.
Yeah. Thank you very much. So sure, I'll join the valedictory session. Thank you for all your support, and then this thing, it's my duty since you requested. Then this is a really a good experience for me. All these days we have been doing it for the medical education, and we have done some for physiotherapy and nursing. But this is entirely a different experience. Without using much terminology, without using much terms, and I'm speaking. I really don't know any terms in Ayurveda or this thing. So, but people could respond. From the response, I could understand that they are receiving it appropriately. Properly. So that itself is a good thing. I mean, please don't stop with this. I think you have to take it forward to the next level. Please, I think you can make a faculty group and then do small workshop at institute level, and then you can prepare your
We're
learners.
planning for a small seminar. Post this, we are planning for a small seminar, including the participants of this meeting, this
Very good.
course, so that we can plan further steps. And we'll be keeping on troubling you for your advice and your classes in the future as well.
Sure, sir. Definitely, I'll be there for you.
And also, I would like
Of course,
to,
for educational thing. Yeah.
I would like to apologize on behalf of if at all we have not played up to your expectations during this, because I know most of the participants, they have tried to keep up on with the pace by preparing the videos and all. And if at all we have not played up to your what you call expectation.
No, actually, this is a good response. Actually, preparing a video is not a thing, but of course, I got this much response. No, that itself, because this is the first time. There also now, see, suppose if we call the same participant for the next course, definitely we'll get a good response. Now they know what it is, so they've got some confidence, and that is okay. But it is an encouraging response only. I won't say that it is, but still they could have participated more. That always that scope for improvement is there. I mean, so anyway, it's a good. But I'm happy. At least though it is very few participants are active, but their participation, I think, would have enhanced the learning of their peer members.
Yes.
Because and if they did not ask such questions, like people like Dr. Vandana, Dr. Anupama, Dr. Gopi Krishna, Dr. Jitish, if they did not involve, definitely we could not make other participants, because I myself only will be talking and it will be really a boredom for the other participants. So that way it was really helpful for me. I really thank all the participants for being with me. Though it is a long session, and I think I should not next time. I mean, if at all next time is there, I think I should not accept for a continuous session because it is not good for participant as well as for the teacher also. I may say, but participants.
And even some of the participants, they asked that it would be nice if we keep one session
One day.
One day.
But another problem is that, sir, if we keep a prolonged schedule, then some of them may not participate because they have to attend the classes for this much days. Then anticipating that we put 2 sessions in a day. Anyway, we'll take a grand feedback in the last part of this last day, and we'll refine our program accordingly for the further sessions. We always ask
one suggestion is that you can conduct weekend classes. Weekend class Saturday forenoon, Sunday forenoon, or Saturday alone, or Saturday afternoon alone. So that way we can cover three topics like that.
Yes, sir.
That is also possible. I don't know about because even here in Forest, Saturday is also working day. That is not possible. Saturdays we always work half a day on Saturdays.
Also, it's the same. Saturday afternoon the classes will be there here also. So.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Thank you all. So see you in another form. I'll join the valedictory on 4th.
Sure,
It's again at 9 o'clock. I mean, valedictory is at what time?
Sir, I will inform you.
Anila will intimate you.
Yes, sir. I will inform you, sir.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Once
Thank you
again,
very much. All the
thanking you,
best. All the best. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. All the best. Keep in touch. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I am extending my gratitude on behalf of
Thank you,
UPSVR with the college, sir. And I thank all the teachers who had shared the video with us. I know in spite of your busy schedule, you took that much effort for the preparation of the video. So once again, thanking you and all. So see you day after tomorrow. Bye. Good night, sir. Good night, participants.